My father was the only person who ever truly stood by me. He worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat after my mother walked out when I was 10. She didn't just leave. She took every penny he had saved, leaving us with nothing but the clothes on our backs. Years later, she married into extreme wealth, living in a gated mansion while my dad and I shared a small 2-bedroom apartment. He never spoke ill of her. He just worked, saved, and loved me. When he passed away last fall, I discovered he had been quietly building an inheritance for me for 20 years. It wasn't millions, but it was enough to change my life. A week after the funeral, the mother I hadn't seen in a decade suddenly appeared at my door. She didn't come to mourn. She came to demand her fair share. She claimed that as his ex-wife, she was entitled to half. When I told her to leave, her eyes turned cold. She told me I was being selfish and that family helps one another. A month later, I received a formal invitation to a family meeting at her estate. I knew it was a setup. I contacted my father's longtime attorney, Sarah, and we made a plan. I walked into that mansion alone, finding my mother surrounded by high-priced lawyers and her new husband. They pushed a stack of legal documents toward me. They wanted me to sign over 70% of the estate to avoid a messy public trial. They thought they had me cornered. I looked my mother in the eye and told her I brought a guest of my own. Sarah walked in carrying a folder that changed everything. My father had anticipated this. He had recorded a video statement and signed specific clauses that barred my mother from ever touching a cent of his assets due to her prior financial fraud during their divorce. The room went silent as Sarah threatened to file countersuits for extortion. My mother's face twisted with rage. She screamed that I would regret this. As I walked out, she whispered that accidents happen to old houses. 2 nights later, my security system alerted me to motion at my father's property. I opened the app and watched in real time as my mother and her husband stepped out of a black SUV. They weren't there to talk. They were carrying canisters of gasoline. I didn't call her, I called the police. I watched the live feed as they began dousing the porch where my father and I used to sit. Just as her husband reached for a lighter, sirens flooded the street. They were caught red-handed. The high-definition footage left no room for excuses. During the trial, she tried to play the victim one last time, but the jury saw the truth. She's now serving 7 years for attempted arson and conspiracy. I moved into my father's house. It's quiet, peaceful, and finally safe. He left me more than just money. He left me the strength to stand up to the person who tried to burn my world down.